Besisehar was a small one-hotel town. It rose to fame and prosperity as the launch pad for the Annapurna circuit. Most travelers started from this point and then wound their way anti-clockwise around the Annapurna range. The lush greenery that surrounded us was an amazing sight. Here and there, nestled amongst the mountains, the lower Himalaya, you could see little villages. Each village was surrounded by a set of terraced fields. Little paths, at least apparently little paths, zigzagged their way across the mountainside. Further down, you could see the mess that was the new Besisehar. This little town was in the flux of transformation, abandoning its traditional housing styles and roofs and going for a new modern look. Crows supervised the evening activities from their high perches. Far away, nestled in the hillside, you could see the traditional houses with their beautiful red sloping roofs. Besisehar had all but lost this look, replaced by steel and concrete flat roofed construction. Sadly, the old technology that was so environment friendly was giving way to the new at a very rapid pace. One could see the change in front of one's eyes. Why look down when one can look beyond? The call of different birds echoed in the mountains from a distance. The sun was setting, the crows were coming in to roost. The village was winding down its activities. People were coming back in from their fields with loads on their heads. There was a sense of peaceful purposefulness. Everybody knew what they had to do, and they just went about their day, patiently completing the tasks at hand. There was no rush here. It was fascinating to watch this lady spin these very long threads of yarn. She had a bundle that was like a snake, and she kept spinning it, rolling it back and forth till it reached the thickness and perfection that she wanted. Would the next generation be even interested in learning her technique? Would they want to know how she spun her thread, where she got her wool? Perhaps not. If this old tree could speak, it would tell you all the village gossip and all the changes it had seen over the years. The next morning we set out bright and early. This was our first day of walking. We packed our gear, loaded our bags, and set out to Bahundanda. We left Mount Kailash Hotel on the dot of 7. We had to go down a huge flight of stony steps and then cross the Marsyandi River. We followed this river almost all the way along a rubble road. We had to walk through many little villages. A little boy was doing his homework. He was so absorbed that he didn't notice us, but the kid did. The first 7 kilometers was a descent to Khudi, then on to Bhulbhule. Here was an ascent where lovely streams rushed towards the the Marsyangdi River. Besisehar was lower than Kathmandu. Kathmandu stood at 4,600 feet, whereas Besisehar was 2,436 feet. One was actually starting the trek at a lower elevation. The path from Besisehar to Bahundanda was full of changes in elevation, at once going up and then coming down. At the higher regions, one had a bird's eye view of the beautiful river. The whole trek would approximately take 6 hours. We walked on as the sun rose. It was steaming after a while. Most people took a bus between Besisehar and Bahundanda. Our porters carried our excess loads. The earth loved the humidity and showed lush for it. At some point at a village, a black dog Kalu joined us. He came with us to our first river crossing. An hour and a half later, we stopped to rest. It was a beautiful spot under a tree. Kalu came and put his head under my hand for a cuddle. Before we knew it, as we looked over the bridge we were about to cross next, Kalu had turned back. We went through another quaint village catering to trekkers and passers by, and then on to this rickety little bridge. As more people walked across the bridge, one had to be careful not to walk in step, otherwise, the bridge would swing and reverberate. These villages, although they appeared shanty, were very peaceful. People sat in front of their homes and tended their fields. Corn was popularly grown here. School children had to navigate huge puddles on the road in order to get to their schools. Some more climbing and descending, and we were back to another bridge crossing. We didn't really stop to watch the river or the scenery. We had to keep moving, so everything was taken on the fly. Those who walked ahead had the advantage of a longer pause, a longer rest. We finally arrived at Bulbule, a one street town with a beautiful waterfall soon after we passed it. We had walked up to 9 kilometers. We had 4 more kilometers to go before a hot lunch. The route to Nyadi was along the river, but it was steaming hot. The sun appeared to suck all the moisture from the river and leave it hanging in the air. We made good time and came to a lovely restaurant at Nyadi. It was full of flowers and by the river. Nyadi was 890 meters, about 2,919 feet. Not much, you would think, but then don't forget, we climbed down a lot, descended a lot, and ascended again before coming to this spot. A hot Nepali thali was the fare for the afternoon. Rice, dal, vegetables. Simple, delicious, and sustaining. And then the climb began to Bahundanda. The little inflection at the bottom was Nyadi, and you had to go all the way to the top of the curve for Bahundanda. We were walking along a road that was being constructed. This made it very difficult. Trees that would have once given us shade had been cut. But for the villagers, this was a boon, a road to prosperity. We had to just walk along and make the most of it. Stopped at Shakuntala's tea shop along the way to drink some cold water. Shakuntala's tea shop was where we found ourselves being Lord Pashupatinath's emissary. That extra Rudraksha mala we carried that Aravind wore along the way ended up being handed over to a man who actually worked at the tea shop. He held it like a priceless jewel, and we told him it was his to keep. Hordes of children came running to look over the precipice. We wanted to see what the excitement was all about. It was earth moving equipment. Boys. The last part became more challenging. It was a steep ascent to the very top. We somehow made it and came to top of the hill Hotel Mountain View. And boy, what a view we had. We sat under a beautiful mango tree full of delicious looking raw mangoes and looked at the mountains, the clouds, and were blessed with the sight of a rainbow. Far out in the distance, the snow capped peaks looked down upon us. We would be heading somewhere there, I knew. We were traveling in June, a time of the monsoon, and there was clouds and mist everywhere. This made it hard to see the peaks, but every once in a while you were given the gift of a view of the lofty heights. The path ahead was clear to us. We would walk along the river. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow was the journey itself. Thanks for watching this What is India production. Give us a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications.